Gang chump the good dog. How are you guys? Taking me out through the back way. Don't be alarmed. Everything is okay. Okay, it's just because there's lawnmowers and blowers and chainsaws and lions and tigers and machinery, oh my. Anyways, wanted to chat with you guys really quick. I know I always say it, but I swear I'm trying. About learning. We've talked about this before, and it's a really fascinating subject. And especially for me, as somebody who comes, and I know there's a lot of people out there with learning challenges. Dyslexia is really super, super common, probably more common than most people know. Other processing, disabilities or challenges or issues, things like that. I've got a host of things that have made reading, processing, comprehending, storing information really challenging for me. I've shared that with you guys in the past. I don't mean that like wah wah wah. I just mean like that's just the reality. I didn't know it for a long time. We knew I had reading problems early on. Luckily, my grandma, actually, we're talking about back in the day, grandma had a friend who was an English teacher, and she actually spent a summer and tutored me and gave me the fundamental skills and the focus, the individual focus I needed to be able to put some foundational principles together to be able to actually read and get through some stuff. Now, the holding on to the information, like teach me how to sound out words and very simple, rudimentary things that I was just way, way behind on. But storing that information while I'm reading was always a problem. Always, always, always been a problem. And I know a lot of folks struggle with similar things where some folks will say I do better with audiobooks. Audio seems to connect more. I think sitting still for a lot of people and just trying to read creates anxiety where they feel kind of conflict. I need to move. I should be doing things, and that stillness and reading makes, I know for me in the past, has made reading exceptionally challenging and even like physically and mentally painful because there's all that conflict of like I should be doing something, I should be doing something, and then you're trying to be quiet and still and focused. Now you couple that with the inability to like hold on to information and reading the same paragraph or same sentence over and over again, you can see where this goes. This goes to a place of like lots of anxiety, lots of like resistance to like learning. And I think this is what happens for a lot of people, is that learning becomes something that's, instead of being fun and empowering and growth increasing or enhancing, it becomes something that's a drag and painful and uncomfortable. And so this is just a little kind of like tweak or hack or suggestion. And I've talked about this before, but I just think it's so important. I saw a little clip. Tony Robbins like popped up on my Facebook. Not like he didn't like pop up and like PM me or anything, but Tony Robbins popped up like a little like 2-minute thing from like Inc. magazine or something. And he was talking about learning, and he was talking about the different percentages of storing information. He wasn't talking about learning disabilities, but it's an interesting thing. And he was saying if you passively sit and listen to me, I can't remember the percentages exactly right, but if you passively sit and listen to me talk, and we can also equate that with reading, you'll retain 10 to 15% roughly, was something around those numbers. And don't everybody message me if my numbers are wrong, but you get the idea, right? And then he said, if you write notes as I'm speaking, just taking the physical action of writing notes, you'll get like 45 to 50% more retention. Just that act of actually engaging with the information puts you in some kind of a different processing mode and retention ability mode. And then he said, if you actively participate, which interacting, not corresponding, but interacting with the material, with the speaker, if he's talking about like in a speaking situation, interacting with him, actually vocalizing, verbalizing as he does. So he has people call and response stuff to make sure that they're interacting and not just sitting there like zombies. But I think, and he didn't talk about this, but I think you can do the exact same thing. Well, I know because I do it. The same thing with books. and studying, and whether it's actual physical books or audio, I tend to do better, believe it or not, with physical, even though they've caused me a lot of like anxiety stuff in the past. I just know that what I get more from the physical books because, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Well, actually, I have seconds now. I get more out of it because I'm actively writing it. And audiobooks, I can't write unless I pause them and write notes. But typically I'm listening to audiobooks on a plane or somewhere where it's like I'm kind of in a different zone. I'm not in like the note-taking zone, or I'm in the car or on a bike or whatever it might be. But the actual physical book, all my physical books, if you've seen me show pictures of them before, video before, are chock filled, just filled with notes. And oftentimes those notes don't even pertain to exactly what's on that page. What's on the page has led me to something else. What's on the page has triggered something, brought something else up from, you know, something else that's on my mind, something else that needs to be resolved or worked on or, you know, accomplished, something like that. So we've got the actual reading, then we've got the writing down of all this stuff. So that's helping me retain more, but it's also doing something really special. And there's some tweaks in here that I think are kind of unique. And I've heard, my brother was talking to me about some of the, he's a teacher, and he was talking about some of the different stuff or titles with this. And I know we've talked about this, so some folks are going to be like, I think we've heard this before. But it's just so important for anybody that's looking to get more value out of the time they spend learning, so they can progress better, more quickly, at a deeper level. Because here's the thing, I will guarantee you I will read slower than you any day of the week. I will get through less books than you any day of the week. But I'd be willing to bet I'll get more out of any book or any time spent doing my process. Even if it takes me 2 months to get through a book, I'll pull more out of that book and get more in a grander, more vast kind of sense than you will reading that book. I know it sounds like I'm being like cocky or challenging, and I don't mean it that way. I just mean it as kind of a check-in, that there's a lot of kind of emphasis on like, let's get through books, let's study, let's go, blah, 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 blah. And it's tough for me because there's a lot of books I want to read, but I just know myself, and I know that I won't get the value out of it if I try and boogie through them. I know I'll boogie through them and I'll have a sense of accomplishment of like, oh, I got through that book, but I will not retain and I will not get the really juicy stuff out of the book. So what's that other part of this? It's the active part that Tony was talking about with his people when they're at one of his seminars, actually interacting, engaging with him. So how do you interact and engage with the written word? Well, so writing notes is one way, but starting to write ideas and concepts that whatever you're reading is bringing up starts to activate your brain in a different way. You start to get into a spot where you're thinking differently. You're not just thinking about the material starts to become more personalized towards you. And one of my biggest tweaks that I don't even know how it came to pass, but like I said, my brother gave me some insights about that. It's actually got a term. I don't know if it specifically fits, but it was pretty damn close. And that's taking information and actively comparing it to experiences that you've had in order for that information to resonate or connect or be placed in a folder in your brain. So I hope that makes sense. So if I'm reading something, if I want to hold on to it, especially if it's like nonfiction, if it's educational material in that kind of sense, I have to take, and I'm pretty darn good at moving pretty quick with it. Like, I don't know how my brain is like, it's just practice and practice. But as I'm reading a sentence, simultaneously as I'm reading the sentence, which is why it takes me longer, but I'm doing better and better, I'm getting faster and faster. But why it takes me longer to read the book is that as I'm going through that sentence, I'm semi-consciously comparing it to a real life experience that I've had, right? So I don't stop and I don't for every sentence go, well, let's see. It's a quick process, it's cooking, it's moving, but I'm telling you guys, as I'm going through anything, like if I'm reading something from like, Gary Vaynerchuk or Tim Ferriss or Seth Godin, and I'm reading a sentence about some concept. For me to get it, for it to resonate, for it to have really true value to where it grows inside of me and creates unique kind of perspective and perception and depth of understanding, I have to then take that sentence and apply it to something similar. So Seth might say, I don't have any examples, but Seth says something and something about the marketplace or employees or branding or whatever. And I have to find a really great comparison in that moment that I can apply to what that sentence or what that paragraph is getting at. And then my brain can grab onto it. And then my brain goes, that's something familiar. I understand that. And it can place it in a folder where I can later access it and becomes information that's useful to me. Simultaneously, it'll spark other thoughts and ideas, and I'll write those as I go, which obviously makes like getting through a page of a book can make this like an exceptionally long, I was going to say tedious, but it's not tedious. It makes it an exceptionally lengthy, slow process because you're literally like squeezing an orange and squeezing all the juice out of it rather than just like taking a bite out of the orange and casting it away, which is what I think happens a lot of times when people go through books or information and that they're trying to glean info and knowledge from. They just take a bite and then toss it away. And I think if you work really hard to find out what your personal best way is to get through information and then pull the most, even if it takes you way longer to get through, you're still going to win. And when I say win, you're going to win in the winning game of getting more information for yourself personally out of that object, out of that book, out of that seminar, out of that audio, whatever it might be. That's your job. Your job is to figure out how. You can say why, but like the why isn't nearly as impossible as, or isn't nearly as important as the how. Find the how. Maybe you can toy with the why when you got some free time, but the how is incredibly important. So for me, I've got a stack of books. They've all got notes written all over the freaking place. Lots of them you'd read and you go, that doesn't have anything to do with what's on that page. Exactly. Because I'm allowing myself to take in the information and allowing it to take me places that need to be analyzed, evaluated, so that information is spurring thought and spurring concepts and spurring something, spurring contemplation. And then I follow that and I'll write those ideas down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways and because my brain's looking for it. My brain's like, there's something here. I gotta find it. And it's literally like mining for gold. You have to keep digging and digging and digging. And sometimes you'll write a sentence about an idea that you're studying in a book and you'll be like, yeah, but personally, you didn't quite get it. So you think and you write it again. Okay, so what was this? How does this apply to me? Or what's something I need to do with this? You write it again. You write it again. You write it again. And the 5th time you're like, aha, that's what it is. That's the juice. That now I've gotten the real stuff out of that sentence or that paragraph or that page or whatever it is. So I just wanted to share that. I thought it was kind of a cool thing seeing the Tony comparison of how retention works and how the numbers bear that out. Like I said, my numbers could be foggy, but how the numbers bear that out from just like watching a presentation or reading a book to watching a presentation, reading a book, taking notes about that, or going a step further and actively participating. Now, if it's a seminar, you can talk back and forth and get information and like dive deeper. If it's a book, and you can talk to yourself if you want, you can say like, hey, nice book and this is a great chapter. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is interacting with yourself with the information and going back and forth with the information to pull whatever it's like sparking, whatever it's like. If an idea comes up, there's a reason it's coming up. take a look at it, turn it around, and find out if it's something that you need to explore, you need to evaluate. And then, if you're one of those people that really struggles with storing information and having like a page, like if you're one of those like me that read a paragraph over and over and over again, you're like, I have no idea what I just read, or a sentence, I have no idea what I just read. Try thinking about, even if it takes you time, because it'll get better over time, try thinking about reading and finding direct comparisons to your personal life experience. They don't have to be an exact fit, but something that parallels what you're reading, to where your mind can then compare it, and it'll do it in a really great way. Like it's fascinating how it works, but to where your mind can compare it and then say, I know what that means. It's not just, for me, I think it takes it out of being just words on a page that my mind is just going to feelings, thoughts, associations, connections, and then we start to get deep with the stuff. Then the book starts to have value. Now, you lucky bastards out there that just can read and it all just, boom, you just get it, to hell with you. You just consider yourself extremely, exceptionally lucky, and you better be reading a ton of books and doing a lot of great stuff with it. Otherwise, you suck really bad. For the rest of us that have to work harder to get the information and pull it out, it's up to us to find our way how to do that. It's up to us. If you have to get a tutor, if you have to get help, if you have to get, somebody to guide you, read some books on it, do research on it, whatever you have to do, it's too important to let go. It's too important to not find out how you learn. Life, this is such an important one for me. It's too incredibly, profoundly important that you figure out and crack the code for how you best learn, so you can have the best life that you can have. Because if you are held back by learning disabilities and the inability to take in new information, or you just don't know how to do it very well, and so you put off even doing the learning process, man, it's so unfair to you. You're gonna miss so much good stuff, so many skills and talents and qualities and insights and wisdom and knowledge and things that you can apply and help yourself and your friends and your family and the world. So really, really, really profoundly important, guys, that you do that work to figure out if you do have struggles with getting information, processing it, holding it, and then being able to access it. Do some work on that. Like I said, I found my own hacks. Yes, it pisses me off that I've got a stack of books. I want to blaze through all of them and I want all that information in here, but that's just not the way the brain works for me, so I got what I got. But like I said, I'm gonna move slower than you, but there's a real good chance I might beat you. I might just beat you on what I pull out of that same book. You might get through 5 books on the same topic, but boy, I'm gonna go deep. I'm gonna go deep on that stuff, and I'm gonna pull out stuff that's going to inspire, impact, and grow my brain in an awesome, awesome way. And so I've come to terms and come to peace with that lengthy process, especially because I see the results. So even if it takes a long time, hey, if you're coming out with great stuff on the other end, who needs 100 books a year if 5 to 10 books a year changes your life more so than 50 to 100? Just something to contemplate. So take a look at how you learn, take a look at where your challenges are, be really honest with yourself. Do you have resistance? Is it uncomfortable? Do you put it off? Do you not like it? Have you just put it in a category? I don't do that stuff, I don't like that stuff. Find your way. Do not let yourself not learn because you've got some impediment that you haven't sorted out yet, some issue, right? Find your way. Like I said, Tony and his numbers, I think they're a really cool thing for us to contemplate how impactful the different ways of interacting with information are for you to be able to grab it, run with it, use it, and make it valuable for your life. All right, any questions? I know this is kind of like a weird, heady, crazy topic, and I know my situation may be very different than yours, but if you have any questions about like how I do my thing, how I work through books, how I try and pull information, and that concept about comparing in the moment, which is a bizarre one. I'd never heard anybody talk about it. Thank God my brother was like, I heard of that. If you have any questions about that direct comparison, concept, in order for something to have some resonance with you, ask me and I'll do my best to try and explain it. All right? Hope you guys are well. Hope this helps even one of you guys do better with pulling information and expanding yourself. All right? Talk soon. Bye.